Right. Welcome everyone to our 70th Open Discussion and Various Topics class. Waiting for a couple more people to join us on both YouTube and in Zoom. Let's wait a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. All right, welcome to today's open discussion. Feel free to ask any questions you may have in the chat, either on YouTube or if you're joining us via Zoom, you can also type the questions there or use the raise hand feature to ask your questions. On the first half of the class, we will do an open Q&A, and then the second half, we will continue our look at the Mystic Constitution of Man PowerPoint presentation. As well as field any questions you may have. So let me do a quick audio and video check, make sure everything's working. Okay, looks like it. Is everyone able to hear and see me all right? All right, can everybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can everybody hear me? All right, do we have any questions? Let me take that down. Are there any questions or comments on any material we've covered so far?
Dwayne, why don't we continue with the PowerPoint until questions come up?
All right. Okay. Put this here so I can see. Last time we finished up the soul and moved into the Bindu. On to page 26 of the slide of the presentation. So the mystic constitution of man, the Bindu. The Bindu is that point of supreme consciousness, or the divine dot or spiritual germ within the chakra. It is the point of consciousness connected to the all-knowledge space. It's the point of consciousness that is the center of the all-knowledge space. When man makes a full rise of Kundalini and lodges it in one of the chakras, he becomes connected to this Bindu, a point of consciousness that is centered in the all-knowledge space. This is why we find the small statements of the yogi adepts or masters so profound and centered. The Bindu is described as a spiritual germ that drops from the divine consciousness, the absolute God. It, the Bindu, is the point of consciousness of the all-knowledge space that extends from the one life, the divine spirit, the all in all, or Brahma, supreme being of God. The Bindu, as the point of consciousness, extends its voice as nada. The nada forces from the Mahabindu act as the creative wave of consciousness within creation that holds and stands as the potential power that brings about the countless forms and shape within the manifested creation. These forms and shapes first express themselves as bits of modes of motion, and then they arrange themselves as bijas and become forms of embodied consciousness on the various realms of existence that make up what we call the chakras. The bindu, which is the spiritual germ of consciousness, the I am, and the I, releases the nada wave that is pure soundless sound. This nada wave moves forward and manifests the Shakti power out of the Shiva state of pure consciousness. This nada wave that extends itself as sabda throughout nature manifests itself in a vehicle of consciousness that shapes and molds aspects of Shakti power into animate and inanimate objects. Now the chakra system. The chakra system is a natural consciousness splitting instrument designed for the soul to allow it to involve itself into gross manifestation. Behind each chakra is a bindu, or point of consciousness of the soul's essence, or all knowledge space connected to the soul. These chakras are points or parts of the soul's essence manifested in consciousness, but each point gives access to a glimpse of the whole and helps to break the illusion of individuality. The soul, oh, okay, no, that's not a question. The soul gave subtler physical expression to these points of consciousness through the arrangements of the sonic vibratory lines of force called the nadis. These nadis are subtler sonic vibrational lines of cosmic energies that flow through the nadis as positive, negative, and neutral charges of cosmic life forces that allows consciousness to be manifested. They, the nadis, wrap themselves around these manifested and unmanifested portions of the points of consciousness, which brings into manifestation a magnetic vortex system of cosmic energies and concentrated mind substance called the chakras. The ancient tantric doctrines tell us that there are over 200,000 nadis that create a complex matrix system that identifies over 100 chakras within the human system. Within this chakra system, there are major, minor, and minute chakras, and each chakra type has a positive, negative, and neutral cosmic energy charge and access to the bindu, or all knowledge space. Oh, I jumped too far. These chakras are the seat of man's true consciousness. As man evolves through his many incarnations, the active functioning and awakening of these chakras denote his evolutionary status and its ability to translate various frequency levels of the universal mind substance within the sea of mind that we all live and make our being within. When man can consciously activate the chakras to an awakening level, he then possesses the ability to translate the frequencies of universal mind where he can read and understand the divine laws of God that holds creation together. So Nehemiah, if man is not able to consciously understand that universal mind or translate that universal mind, does it mean that it then has a greater effect on the subconscious and superconscious mind?
The subconscious mind is aware of the universal mind, and the superconscious mind is a part of the universal mind. So, and the subconscious mind is part of the universal mind, or understand the universal mind as far as the karmic law, because the subconscious mind is that mechanism within you that makes sure that karmic law is maintained. The superconscious mind is the part of the mind that the soul utilizes to manage its affairs. So it's it's always being translated and understood on various levels, but the subconscious mind and the unconscious, the conscious mind and the unconscious mind is the thing that is not fully aware of the universal mind, although they know it's there, the same way we know that the internet is there. But ask one of us how the internet works, and we'll stumble on our words because we don't fully understand it. So, but the internet is always there, because especially right now we constantly use it, and the universal mind is that internet, in a sense, for the universe, for the galaxy. And it connects all things in nature, in manifestation. And all things in manifestation utilize the universal mind. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Yes. Any other questions? No? Okay. So keep going. Out of the 108 chakras that are known to man, when it comes to his personal development, there are 7 major chakras along the spine that he needs to concern himself with in the course of his development. The first is the base of the spine, or Mudahara Chakra. Chakra Bijas, LAM. It is composed of 4 petals. The name of the tattva is Bhuta, and the matter is earth. And it has associated with 56 tattvic rays. Next, we have the sex center, or the Svadhisthana Chakra. Its bija is VAM. Number of petals 6. Its tattva is Agni. Now our matter quality is fire, and associated with 62 of the tattvic rays. Next is the solar plexus, or Manipura Chakra. Its bija is RAM, composed of 10 petals. Its tattva is Apas, or water, and it has 52 tattvic rays. Then we go to the heart center, or the Anahata Chakra. Its bija is YAM, composed of 12 petals. The Vayu Tattva, or air element, composed of 54 tattvic rays. And the throat center, or the Vishuddha Chakra, its bija is HAM, composed of 16 petals. The Akasha Tattva, or ether element, and it has 72 tattvic rays. Then the Christ chakra, or the Ajna chakra. Its bija is Om. 2 petals is Tattva Manas, or mind, and it has 64 tattvic rays. And all those together give you 50 petals and 360 tattvic rays. And then finally, the crown center, or the Sahasrara chakra. Right. These 7, I just read that. So the 7 major chakras are as follows. The first 6 chakras have 50 petals among them, which are known as the 50 Sanskrit letters, and the bijas, or sound vibrations, of power and consciousness. The base of the spine chakra is the vortex center of subtle energy configuration that operates as an instrument of self-consciousness for mankind. It is the home of the dormant power of Kundalini. The base of the spine chakra is where the Shakti that fell from the Shiva in the crown chakra vortex portal and traveled through the Sushumna to enter into the Mudahara and reveal the great presence of Shiva through the Pada sound, Vak, in order to produce limited self-consciousness on the basic realms of existence. So could I understand that to mean that in order for the soul to express the lowest level of self-consciousness or self-awareness consciousness, it had to push the Kundalini down to the Mudahara and house it there?
Yes.
Any lower in self-consciousness could not be expressed, or self-awareness consciousness could not be expressed?
Yes, so unless you manifest the consciousness there, then to go below there, you have a great deficiency, because below that level is the animal consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
If you establish consciousness there, then you fall back down, you still retain self-consciousness. But if you start from any point below there, then you lack self-consciousness.
Mm-hmm. So the fall of humanity after the destruction of Maldek, I'm making the assumption that the seat of our consciousness was a little higher before that. And then after humanity had to be placed into the astral realms of Earth, and those new bodies were formed, were those new bodies formed with the understanding that the consciousness would have to be placed at a lower level and then moved down to the Mudahara?
Well, from the ancient teachings, and I think Ramaprasa that translated the secret doctrines in his Nature Final Forces.
Mm-hmm.
He specified that the consciousness, the conscious of the Adamic man was, the self-conscious Adamic man was at the heart chakra.
Right.
And it fell from the heart chakra to the base of the spine, still retaining self-consciousness, but limited. because it's wrapped in unconscious and subconscious substance.
Mm-hmm.
So that a very small percentage of self-consciousness is operating. And that's why most people walk around in a daze, they can't recall things. They just rely on a few hours of memory, and then they have to access a memory from the subconscious mind beyond that few hours. And then they only aware of their immediate area as far as their 5 and 10 senses.
Mm-hmm.
They don't sense what's going on a block away from the street, or unless they visually see it or hear it. They can't feel it.
Mm-hmm.
They should be able to, but they don't.
But Adamic man was the race that was here prior to the introduction of Maldic man.
Right.
And so my question was, what the bodies that Maldic man had to be introduced into, that consciousness had to be pushed down to the Mudahara in order for them to operate in that body.
Yeah. Well, the Adamic man moved on.
Right.
But the Adamic man was responsible was responsible for helping the Seneca Mara and his 40, I think it was 47 or 48 cosmic masters that came, or bodhisattvas that came with him in order to shape and mold and modify the surface of this earth in order to accept mankind as we know it today. Mm-hmm. And that's when karma dictated that their self-consciousness had to start from the sex chakra. I mean, from the base of the spine, and move up to the sex chakra as a place where consciousness will reside. And we learned that took hundreds of thousands of years for that to happen, and for man to be placed on the gross physical planes of existence.
So was that pushing down of man's consciousness to be housed in the Mudahara, was that done immediately from his introduction to Earth, or was it pushed down to that point after, like, say, Lemuria and Atlantis? Because I know how Lemuria and Atlantis caused the intensification of the ionospheric belt, or the ring past naught, but were we always operating from that level of consciousness from that initial introduction?
Yeah, to my understanding, yes, we were. It took hundreds of thousands of years for the physical Earth had to go through a modification. Mm-hmm. And in other words, when you look at because the consciousness operated from the heart chakra, the Adamic man environment was totally changed, was totally different. The same way, if you look at our environment now, we operate, everything that we created, it has a male female aspect to it, and it's like a binary type thing. You have mm-hmm. you have a plug, you have a receptacle. It's always like that. It's although that it's like that over the universe, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Mm-hmm. When you move to higher levels of consciousness, just like right now, mankind is moving to wireless mechanisms, although it's still working on the same binary process, but it's a wireless thing. But look how long we operated in the manner in which we did, and that's because most of humanity consciousness was at the base of the spine and the sex center. And then when you look at everything we do, is related to positive, negative, female, male, female. So but with the Adamic man, the way Madam Malaski described it was that they lived on the physical plane, but majority of their internal organs was on the etheric plane. And they could move from easily from one point from one realm to the next because of this. They had a greater control over physical and subtle substance that they can utilize portals. They can dematerialize, rematerialize. They can pull substance that was available in the area and manifest what they wanted to a limited degree, but they were able to do it. So, that's the difference. Now, because of that, we know that what we say, what we do creates the environment around us. So their environment was different. Their environment was more magnetic. It was more, they had a greater access to subtle energy. So things was different. Even the elements that was available to them, we're told by Dr. George King and other philosophical teachings that there was a thing called Element X, where it allowed us substance from the earth to live for thousands of years. And Madame Alaska described this, I think, in her Secret Doctrines and the Isis Unveiled, where all these things were extracted back into the earth. It went back to the core of the earth, and or near to the core of the earth before it was on the surface of the earth. So the things we ate, the things we did, the air we breathed, all those things contributed to our longevity. That disappeared, especially as man came on earth and began to defile earth. One of the ways we defile earth is that from our dead remains, we did not dispose of them properly. And now we have a layer of the topsoil of the earth is called dead remains. So in many, many ways we defile earth. If we did that just on the physical plane, think about what we did on the mental plane. And the emotional energy that our auras emit and back into the atmosphere, which is called manas, created a very high, a very negative high content of manas that helped to mold and shape and the vegetation on Earth, the air quality, the physical quality of everything. And we limited ourselves in what they call the samsara, which is the wheel of rebirth, in short intervals. So that's why we live on the physical plane for a short time.
Okay. On my end, it looked like the stream cut out for a second. So can you guys on YouTube, can you let me know if the stream stopped for a second or if it was continuous that entire time? It doesn't look like I'm having any technical difficulties, but I just want to make sure. There's a question. When will Nehemiah Davis release his next book? Okay.
Well, I plan to release it this year sometime.
Okay. All right, so it did cut out for a second, but it's back up now. Okay. Okay, I wanted to ask about the Vak, or the presence of Shiva, that is revealed when the Kundalini is brought down to the Mudahara. So when Kundalini is raised in full from the Mudahara to a higher center, what happens to that presence of Shiva that was revealed at the Mudahara? Is it just brought? Is that Vak sound just brought to a higher center, or is that Shiva no longer revealed and then a new type of sound is made at a higher center?
No, from what we're told, it's the same way it happened in nature. And now science is realizing this too, that sound is more significant than what they ever imagined.
Mm-hmm.
When the Shiva is revealed, one of the reasons why they say the Shiva is revealed is because of the sound that the Shakti makes when it goes into a dormant state. Because remember, Shakti came from Shiva.
Mm-hmm.
And the Shakti goes into this meditative dormant state, and it locks the door to Shushumna, because it have to go into a higher state in order to close that door of Shushumna, which is the Brahma, which in the middle of Shushumna is the Brahma Nadi.
Mm-hmm.
It's the meaning the power that flows from Brahma, right? So it closes that door. It goes into this higher state of existence, and it closed the door, but then it releases a creative sound, and that creative sound helps to create what we know as the nadis, the matrix of the nadis. And we know that that the nadis is a flow of energy going in two different directions, while holding the energy of one direction in one place. And as the nadis swing out left and right, it creates a matrix, some type of geometrical flow of energy inside the auric body, which creates the nadi system. But the left and right nadis is a sound vibration carrying energy, carrying positive mental energy and vital energy. And this mental and vital energy intersects with the vortex centers, which is called the chakras, at every level that it reaches. The main levels are the levels along the spine and or the major chakras. It also connects with the minor chakras too. But the most important thing, the most important connection it makes is with the chakras along the spine. And when it goes through the chakras, it cross section and creates levels of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And that's how we experience the manifested consciousness of the absolute. Is through the chakras. Each chakra level is levels of consciousness. And the matrix, this nadi geometrical matrix that's created, locks us in to the subtle and physical worlds of this universe. and that's what the that dormant state of Shiva does, and it actually works within that auric body to bring about what's called the self-expressions of the soul, because all the subtle bodies are created on the astral realms, all the subtle bodies are created on the etheric realms, and then all the components that make up the physical body is created via this nadi system.
Does the vehicle or body that the soul operates through determine the how that nadi system is laid out? Like, say, for example, is the nadi system that we have for our bodies different than, say, the body of a giraffe or the body of a gorilla or so forth? Is their nadic system formed differently?
I don't understand. What are you saying? Is what nadi system different?
How the nadis are laid out within the bodies. Is the type of body affect how the nadis are laid out?
No, not necessarily, no. If you can imagine the earth. The earth has a nadi system.
Right.
So the nadi system is part of the atmosphere. The earth nadi system is part of the atmosphere that we live in. So in the earth, you have the aura, which is the atmosphere, and then you have the nadi system in the earth, which is the electromagnetic spectrum that flows and plays around the earth in various levels and manner according to the physical and subtle needs of the earth. As the earth move that energy from the sun, the planets, the moon, and in order to rotate the substance of itself here on the surface and below the surface. So in certain parts of the earth, you have extreme heat. In other parts of the earth, you have extreme cold. In other parts of the earth, you have a balance type weather year round. So your nadi system works the same way. You know, your nadi system flows in a certain direction and creates certain conditions. And as your consciousness move across the nadi system, then you relate in a particular way, and you have a particular power or lack of power by moving up and down the nadis. But the power is always there for you to connect to. In the same way, the power is always here on the earth to connect to. You know, in previous civilization, mankind learned the matrix of the earth, and they created domes to allow them to experience a certain atmosphere year round. You know, so that they didn't have to go up and down in their environment, and so that they can develop themselves or in a stable manner. And it's the same way we do today with our homes. We create an environment within our homes that's comfortable for us, so that we can maintain ourselves.
That's the meridian lines is what you're referring to, what would they used to?
It's not only that. It's the wind. It's the season. It's the flow of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
It's the magnetic flow within the air. It's the light rays, the photon rays. All of these are the nadis. They can be described also as tava or tavic rays, but it's still part. It all enter the nadis. It all enter the 49 chakras of the earth, and then it comes back out of those 49 chakras of the earth, and it wraps itself around the earth as nadic type energy. So you have a nadic energy that flows from the east, from the west, from the northwest, from the south, from the north, from the southeast. In every direction. This nadic energy flows. The clouds are part of the nadis. The wind is part of the nadis. The rain is part of the nadis. So it's a nadic system that even the storms is a part of the nadis. So these things, that's how they were described in the ancient times.
There's a question here. I know someone who played complex classical music to a baby in the womb and then for a year afterwards. The child grew up with perfect pitch, incredible language skills, fantastic memory and math skills, etc. Is this a property of sound?
Yeah, it's more than a property of sound. Remember, sound is mind. So sound is part of mental energy. So I mean, they use sound in order to transfer mental energies, and which means mental images, uh, uh, all types of energy moves through sound, because sound operates on multiple levels of existence. In fact, the devas use sound. Uh, in fact, sound is related back to the devas, because the devas use, that's one of the main energy sources that the devas use is sound, which is vibration, which is sonic vibration, because the devas live on a vibrational level of existence.
Any other questions? Okay. Let's continue on. The Mudahara Chakra has 4 petals or bijas within it. These 4 petals represent the vital life force signatures being radiated from Kundalini and projected from this chakra as the Nadi pathways. This chakra is unique because it received the great Shakti that was molded into a state of all-aware consciousness and also placed into Shiva state consciousness that blocks the door to Shumna, which helps to cause the condition of samsara. Oh, the wheel of reincarnation. Oh. But raising Kundalini in full from the Mudahara isn't enough to break the wheel, break samsara, right? Like you have to ascend in order to do that, right?
Yeah, you have to ascend, but it's a start.
Right. So, yeah.
Start. Remember, once you bring Kundalini up to up to the Christ chakra, you gain the knowledge to break the wheel of samsara. You know, you gain the full knowledge. When you bring it to the throat center, you have that knowledge already.
Mm-hmm.
But when you take it to the Christ center or Ajna chakra, which is here, you have the knowledge, you have the full knowledge on how to break the wheel of rebirth. That's why at that point they classify you as an avatar.
Mm-hmm. A question here. I wonder why the sun is hot, but Saturn is cold. The sun has the most energy and is the warmest thing we know. It seems that the Earth would be the coldest planet and Saturn would be hot.
Well, I mean, scientists really don't know what Saturn is. I mean, they have their speculations, and I know they sent probes there and all that, but every time we find out that years later that something was off and it wasn't exactly what they thought it was, and this and that. And then we only see Saturn from its physical, from the base physical level of our existence. The Saturnarians live on a highly etheric plane. We were just talking about moving Kundalini up to the Christ chakra, which is the Ajna chakra. And then once you move it to the crown chakra, you're no longer bound to the wheel of rebirth of Earth. You become a cosmic master, and you can leave this Earth. You can live on other planets. All the other planets in this solar system, save 2 planets, are live on the etheric realms. Okay. I mean, the whole planet, except for this Earth and the younger planet of this solar system. So there, you know, the physical Saturn we see, and Jupiter we see, and Pluto and Mars and all these. These are levels of these are basic operational levels. It's like we going into the computer looking at the motherboard or something, and nothing exists there but functional operational stuff. The real thing is the energy and the electrons that's active. So all the cosmic beings on the other planets, they have risen to the etheric plane. Now, if you project on the etheric level and go to those planets, you'll see that it's teeming with life that we couldn't even begin to describe. So that's the difference. It's between our Earth and their planet.
Okay, since you mentioned the new planet, I had a question about it. Also regarding to the Gnostic system of bodies. Will man that goes there still operate in a similar body that he operates in now, or would it be a different, lower evolved form?
Well, we're taught that the logos of that planet dictates the substance and the life forms, what type of life form, what type of body that
okay.
that person. Remember,
Makes
the
sense.
correct way to enter any planet is through permission of
logos.
the logos.
Mhm.
So the logos of that planet, along with the protectors of the logos, will dictate the how the life forms will develop and move. Now, on this planet, because this planet took on such a great burden,
Mhm.
karma was manipulated. The great cosmic masters, the Lord of the Flame of Venus, which is Seneca Kamara, took on that that responsibility or that karma
Mhm.
to manipulate the energies of the Mother Earth to provide various body
Mhm.
types to have man to evolve, because man had been contaminated from the explosion of Meldick, or what we understood. In the Holy Bible and in the other Bibles, they say Satan fell from heaven into the hells, and they were really talking about the explosion and contamination of mankind, and that his etheric body, his auric body, and etheric body was highly contaminated. So they had to create a safe space in the lower hells uh, for mankind, in order to clean him up over hundreds of thousands of years and introduce him into a cycle of rebirth, so that he can continually filter himself and develop himself and evolve back to the state he was, and higher than that.
Mhm.
So now, going to the the new planet that we've been hearing of for thousands of years, and it became clear in the last I guess 70 some years or 50 some years, that we that man will be introduced, mankind who can't make it here will be introduced into a younger planet.
Mhm.
Uh, of course, he's going to have to start from the lower hells, probably the lower Asurims, and work his way up to the higher realms, of course. But I mean, how that would look, what it would look, I'm almost sure they have a humanoid form, because that's the form that seemed that we heard that this particular galaxy uh, favor. It's a humanoid form, but we don't know how it would look. So I mean, we
Mhm.
have no idea.
So the Senate Kumar took on that responsibility so that we wouldn't have to burden the Mother Earth by going through her logos in order to take on incarnation, take on our bodies.
Right. The Senator Kamara did that. I mean, he took on that to help the Mother Earth, to take that burden off the Mother Earth.
Mhm.
But he had to follow the laws of the Mother Earth in order to.
Right. Okay, so any other questions? Let me take a quick look.
In fact, when you go back to the Secret Doctrines and Isis Unveiled, you'll see where they talked about the 49 fires and the fire bodies, when they talk about the root man, and when they go through the stages of the root man, and the 49 fires were actually the 49 the 49 chakras of Earth. And when you look at the Son of Kamara, when he came here, he came and 48 cosmic masters came. And I think each one of those masters were tuned to the 49 chakras of the earth, which each one of them took on the responsibility. And we know that when the cosmic master come here, he may come here in a he come here as a twin soul or multiple souls. Only time he comes here through the womb of a woman, he comes in the fourth aspect. But the way they could have came in a higher aspect, in a third aspect or a second aspect or a full aspect. But we understand that Senator Kamara came here in his full aspect. That's why they had to build the city of Shambhala for him, so that when he came, the city of Shambhala almost became like his a body or shield in which he worked, because the whole city was designed to respond to him.
Okay. It is said that when the Shakti consciousness of mind and pranas, being driven by the will of the soul, reaches the root chakra, the Mudahara Chakra, it falls into a dormant energy configuration that is called Kundalini, and moves consciousness and moves man's consciousness from the whole to the not whole. This omni-awareness, the soul shared with the spirit in a limited capacity, of course, is lost by the effects of the dormant energy configuration. This energy configuration of Kundalini Shakti is described as being in an energy pattern that resembles a 3.5 coiled serpent that blocks the doorway to Sushumna. Sushumna is man's pathway or passageway to his higher and more expanded levels of consciousness. Sushumna is the inner channel of the spinal column where the bindus of the 6 major chakras along the spinal column reside. This higher consciousness can only be experienced by Kundalini rising and traveling through Sushumna and activating the various chakras that reside along the spinal column within Sushumna. Now, the action of this dormant energy configuration of Kundalini Shakti blocking the passageway to Sushumna activates and perpetuates the separation of the Shakti power. The separation of Shakti power signifies man's limited conscious awareness. Nehemiah, whenever I hear you or Dr. King talk about the dangers in raising Kundalini, there is emphasis given to not just the raising, but also the lowering it, or bringing it back down. I would think that karmically speaking, it would be more difficult to raise it than it would be to bring it back down. Is that correct?
No, it's more difficult to raise it. Bringing it back down is dangerous, but you have a higher power when you bring it back down, because you're operating in the superconscious state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, now, if you haven't prepared yourself, that's where it becomes dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't prepared yourself properly.
So then, how would you know you are properly prepared to embark on raising and lowering Kundalini?
Remember what Dr. King said, that he said, when you can concentrate on one thing
For several hours, yeah.
for long periods of time, then you can move and tame and control the power of Kundalini. And he said, he went specific and said, if you can take 12 hours of concentration and place it into the strength of 12 hours of concentration and place it within a 10-minute window, a 5 to 10 minute window, then you can move the power of Kundalini.
Okay. It is the whole becoming the not whole. It is the 5 elements splitting and manifesting its opposite aspects. It is the 5 major pranas of subtler forces manifesting the 5 minor pranas of gross physical forces. It is the heat within the Shakti power manifesting itself as the Pingala Nadic force, with positive charged subtler and gross energies. It is the cooling factor within the Shakti power manifesting itself as the Ida Nadic force, with negative charged subtler and gross energies. Okay. Number 1, Sushumna is the primary line of force found in the center of the spine, moving down from the head region, the crown and Christ chakra. It is also the passageway back to the highest level of consciousness. Sushumna has 3 inner layers within. Has three inner layers within, and the inner layer is the Brahma Nadi, where the power of Ida and Pingala is traveling in one direction. It is a pure flowing state of Shakti power. In the Mudahara Chakra, the Kundalini forms from the Shakti power by the soul, blocks the door to Sushumna. The Mudahara Chakra has 4 petals or bijas called seed mantra, which is bits of sound vibrations that carry the consciousness of the soul and help to calibrate the mind and vital energies flowing through the nadis, leaving the chakras via the petals. In the development of consciousness, the chakra petals are used as meditation tools to awaken the power of Kundalini. Each chakra has a major bija that originates from the bindu, a point of consciousness, or the spiritual germ of the chakra, which is the flow essence within the chakra itself. It is the point of all knowledge space, is the point where the soul is fed by the spirit, that divine spark of God. And the inverted triangle, referring to the mandala, these are referring to the mandala diagram at the top right-hand corner. The inverted triangle is the symbol of Shakti or creative energies. This symbolizes the downward flow and inhibited power of Shakti in the dormant state of Kundalini within the Mudahara Chakra. Number 5, excuse me. The 7-trunked elephant represents the creative mind substance that make up the 7 bodily tissues, or sapta dhatus, which are highly concentrated aspects of prana designed to build the astral, physical, and gross physical bodies of man. The subtle pranic or auric tissues are called the dhatus, which are the following: rasa dhatu, rakta dhatu, mamsa dhatu, meda dhatu, ashti dhatu, maja dhatu, sukra dhatu, and the concentrated power of ojas, which act as the primary essence for the dhatus. Number 6, 8 spears. The 8 spears surrounding the earth element represents the earth kula family. Number 7, the elephant represents that there is a great dormant power resting in a completely stable state. Number 8 is the 3.5 knot, represents the dormant state of Kundalini. And a 9, the yellow square, represents the earth element. Calvin, no, this slideshow is not downloadable. In fact, this presentation is a preview of a seminar that we will be planning in the future. So similar material, probably in a more depth manner, will be covered in an upcoming seminar that we'll be hosting soon. So stay tuned for that, or for more information about that. Okay, next we move to the sex chakra, the Svadhisthana chakra. Let me do a quick time check. Okay, we're good. The sex chakra, Svadhisthana chakra, is where the seat of man's consciousness resides. The Sanskrit word sva means one's own, and the Sanskrit word adhisthana means residence or dwelling place. This chakra is the life-giving force of the subtler bodies and gross physical body. It regulates the dhyana pranas throughout the human system, subtler and gross expression. It is the place where life is initiated on the gross physical plane. It is also the place where the physical brain, an instrument of translating mind substance, is influenced heavily from the sex chakra, Svadhisthana chakra. The sex chakra engages or triggers the physical brain to use the frequency of its pranic forces to maintain and sustain the gross physical consciousness. This chakra is the second chakra along the spinal column line of major chakras. Its presence is easily recognized within our physical environment, considering the makeup of our present science and technology today. All of our technologies are based on a positive and negative charged energy particles that come together in order to produce usable energy. When you have an electric machine, it has an electrical male plug that is inserted into an electrical female receptacle. And when the two are joined together, a free flow of controllable and usable energy is produced, which animates the machine to a usable instrument. When you have a combustible engine, the engine is the female component and the fuel is the male component. When you place the fuel in the engine, the fixture of the two produce energy that drives or animates the engine to a workable instrument. This chakra activates the mind substance to a level where man lives and operates on the mind frequency that flows through the sex chakra, Svadhisthana chakra. Svadhisthana chakra. In other words, the sex chakra produces a level of conscious awareness where its environment is molded into the laws of that shape and energizes the mind substance. Our environment today is largely manifested from the frequency of mind substance that originated from the sex chakra conscious level. The Bindu power that's expressed at this level gives the supreme static power of storing all conscious memories, all unconscious memories, conscious movements, and involuntary movements within the subtle and physical bodies. The sex chakra is the level of consciousness or Shakti power the soul uses to formulate the subconscious mind. The energies produced from the thoughts and actions of our past daily lives are looked on or called memories. So is knowledge of our past lives unlocked or revealed upon the a full rise of Kundalini to the sex chakra?
Yeah, you could tap into, not fully, but you could tap into uh, past lives when you move Kundalini to the sex chakra. But it's the upper chakras where the stabilization of that is revealed. Remember, the sex chakra is controlled heavily by the
Christ.
the Christ chakra. So it's not until you pass the lower three chakras that you begin to understand and gain the greater knowledge of your past lives. Okay. Because when you reach the upper chakras, you have a greater control of karma. And karma is a major factor. You have a greater understanding of karma. When you reach the throat chakra, then you have a tremendous information of past lives and the karma behind it. So because you have to really understand karma in order to understand past lives. Although it, one of the basic books of metaphysics, which is I think it's the 14 lessons. I think it's either in the 14 lesson or the advanced course. They talk about the first layer of psychic awareness, which is when you, because the first level of psychic awareness is moving Kundalini from the base of the spine to the Christ center, which, and just a small portion of Kundalini, it's not a full rise. And what happens is the physical senses and the astral senses, they merge together in intervals, giving you psychic sight. And they say you cannot fully see the Akashic records, but you can see a reflection of the Akashic records. So you can see, it's like you're looking into the water and you see a reflection of yourself. But it's not fully clear, but it's clear enough so that you can make out that that's you. And that's what you, in basic clairvoyance and basic psychic abilities, you can see reflections of your past lives in that manner. It's not until you move Kundalini up to the higher chakras where you have a crystal clear vision and sight, vision and hearing and everything, and of your past lives. It's almost as though it's part of your present life at that point.
What would be the proper treatment of knowledge of a previous life? Like I could imagine someone not prepared for that information could easily become overwhelmed with that, trying to relive a previous life or trying to reconnect a previous life. But I would think that the proper treatment would be to just kind of like note, learn, and detach and continue on with whatever you're doing in your present incarnation.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it's just like in this life, in this present life, that most of us are clear about what happened to us. You use it as a guidepost, you know. You know certain things. You know not to do certain things because it trigger other things, and that trigger may throw you in a spin where things are uncontrollable. So therefore, you curb your behavior in moving forward in doing a particular thing. You know, that's how you use knowledge. That's how you use experience. Experience teaches you how to stay on the road or the pathway to where you want to get to. You know, a particular environment is not good for you. You may have certain weaknesses, or you might be vulnerable to those type of environments. So then you stay clear of those environments, and you stay on the pathway to make sure that the lower part of you, the basic part of you, does not fall prey or in a trap of those desires and wants of yours. Because our worst enemy is our basic self. So as you grow and learn and move and experience things, you realize where you're vulnerable at, and you create a pathway so that you do not fall under that vulnerability. And that's what you do with your past lives. Any information you gain in your past life, you use it as a strength, not a weakness.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, there's a question here. Can you go in on how the sex chakra develops subconsciousness? Calvin, I think we will probably go more into that as we progress on with the presentation, but Nehemiah, if you wanted to say something about that now.
Well, the subconscious is a background operating system. So it's easy for people to understand. 20, 30 years ago when I was teaching this, it was hard to explain this to people. But now, today, we can clearly see that when you have because everybody using computers or phone or whatever, you have an operating system that makes sure all functions follow a certain pattern. That's what the subconscious mind is. You cannot have a conscious mind if you don't have a subconscious mind or even a superconscious mind. Even in a car, years ago, we had something called a brain box. And if that brain box go bad, that car doesn't crank. And if it crank, the relay system doesn't work properly. The proper systems back and forth, like the ignition, the radio can't come on, all the different systems, the fuel injection, none of that stuff works without the brain box. And the relay system is the thing that controls the ignition when you fire it. So, but the brain box controls everything. So the subconscious mind is a background operating system for the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, because we move back and forth from conscious, unconscious. You can't have a conscious mind in a basic state without having an unconscious mind. And behind all that is a subconscious mind. Then behind all that is a superconscious mind. And then behind all that is a superconscious mind. So, so you cannot have one without the other. So that's, if you can understand that, that's like mathematics and almost,
Yeah. The tantric teachings call these memories samskaras, which are tiny bits of energy patterns that builds a unique and personal collage of energy patterns which produce its own pressures of karma on the auric bodies. The combination of these samskaras, or collage of energy patterns, dictates the karmic pressures and karmic patterns that each individual must experience according to their own actions. The samskaras are like seeds that have been planted within the auric bodies, waiting to blossom under the right conditions. The right conditions, there you go, answers my question. The right conditions are when the karmic pressures that hold the energy patterns together within the auric bodies begin to loosen, and those samskaras or energy patterns manifest themselves through the current expressed personality and level of consciousness that the soul is working through at that time. The sex chakra is the home of the subconscious mind. The base of the spine chakra and sex chakra govern or produce the energy formation that builds and maintains the subconscious mind within the mental bodies that the soul's consciousness works through. Nehemiah, I want to go back to this statement, the first statement, bullet point here on this slide, but the right conditions are when the karmic pressures that hold each mass together within our bodies begin to loosen and these samskaras manifest themselves to the current expressed personality. I know it could be different things for each person, but like say for myself, for example, over the past 5 or 10 years, you know, I've noticed changes in my personality, and people around me as well say the same thing. They've noticed changes in the way I express myself, and on both sides. Little things that never bothered me before would bother me, or things that would really bother me before I don't even mind with anymore. But it's also too like thoughts that I would never entertain in the past dominate my thinking, you know, recently. And is that an example of a samskara or samskaras being loosened or manifesting themselves?
Yeah, so samskaras only express themselves when the opportunity comes to allow them to express themselves. So, or when the basic self use them as weapons to hold on to its position. In other words, Dr. George King talked about your basic self, your worst enemy, because once you begin to concentrate, once you begin to go down the pathway of developing your mind, and one of the first things is to bring about control over your actions, then that lowers the negative samskaras that's being produced and fed to the other negative samskaras, which the basic self is made up of a lot of negative samskaras. So once you begin to christen the mind and focus and point and be more pointed and be more observant of your actions and the things around you, it lowers that personality part of you that's called the basic self. It pushes it into a corner. The basic self begins to fight back and begin to try to remind you of all the pleasure you got out of being a restless animal, you know, of just doing nothing or doing things that brought pleasure and desire and all those things. So it begins to fight you. It begins to fight you and begin to bring up in that fight, it begins to bring up those pleasurable moments. And those things that made you that relax you, that put you into a state, you know, in those old basic mind states where you was unaware of what's going on around you and what's going on around the world. And it's almost what they call it in psychology, ethnocentric type existence, you know, where you just focus on yourself and nothing else. almost a point of sociopathic. That's what the basic self wants you to do. The basic self don't want you to really think about your neighbor and think about doing all the right actions so that you can live peacefully among other people. You know, the basic self wants you to just focus on what you need and not what the environment needs.
Mm-hmm. I hadn't realized, like you said, that the basic self could weaponize some samskaras against you. That's interesting.
Yeah, it can.
There's a question here: is trauma stored? Hold on. Is trauma stored in the samskaras, the chakras, or both?
What you mean by the chakras?
No, it wouldn't be stored in the chakras. It would
stored in the auric body.
Yeah.
In the nadis, in the pathways of the nadis. That's your obstruction, really. Those are the things that you need to clear the nadic pathways of. Is the samskaras. Because remember, the samskaras are megabytes of past thoughts and incidents of your life. Those thoughts, actions, combination of actions or incidents that happen, they ball up into this energy, this megabyte of energy that when the proper time, it comes back at you under proper conditions and take you back to that time or in that state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the ways to know that samskara exists, like I always tell everybody, go back and listen to some music that you really enjoyed 10 years ago or 20 years ago or even 5 years ago, and see how your mind is transported back to that time when that music was most popular in your life and everybody's life around you. And your samskaras will manifest themselves, you know, and that's also a method of just eliminating negative samskaras too, by using sound and music to bring those samskaras up, and then you deal with those samskaras. You make sure that they have no life when they die, and you can move on from that state of mind to other higher states of mind. So, you know, that's one little method that you can use, that the yogis use.
What do you mean by deal with them that they have no energy or no? Is you just observe what the samskara is triggering in you without engaging it, or is it
you examine it and then you dismiss it without giving it any new life, you know?
Okay.
You fight back on it. It's the same way some of the therapists and psychologists, teachers, because all that is mysticism.
Mm-hmm.
Same way you have an alcoholic or addict or whatever, and they use a different method instead of giving into the
addiction or temptation.
The addiction, they use another method to fight against the addiction, even if they call a co-sponsor of them to help them go through it. Mm-hmm. That's Agni Yoga, you know, the yoga of fire, mm-hmm. Where you call on, you use fire to burn up that negative samskara that's holding you back. You know, you can use mental fire, you can use physical fire, you can use sound, you can use yoga, hatha yoga, you can use all different type of things to fight, but it's still Agni yoga, where you are combating and burning up that negative samskara. You can get a group of people to walk you and talk you out of it, and stay on you. And in some of the Buddhist and Hindu traditions, they have somebody standing there with a stick to hit you upside the head. You fall out of what you should be doing. So, but that's one of the Agni Yoga type techniques to burn up negative samskaras.
Right, everyone, do we have any final questions before we close out today's session? So we got to slide 48. Okay, so we have left is to do a quick examination of the mandala for the sex chakra, and then we'll move into the solar plexus chakra next time. Any final questions or comments or anything you'd like to state before we close out today's session?
Someone said, can you use movies to bring up samskara? Yeah, you can use movies too.
All right, well, if there are no further questions, let us close out the, oh, there's a comment here, hold on. This class will be available online to view for 1 week. And then after that week, say next week, Saturday, it will be placed on private. So you have 7 days, 6 days to view it before it is made private.
Can we use the tape to close out?
Yes, we can. Let me cue it up. Give me a second. Let me. Okay. So I do have it here. The actual transmission. The Master Jesus giving the New Lord's Prayer. I will play that and we can listen along and follow along with it. So let me share my computer sound. Calvin, if you want to gain access to the private videos, you could send us an email requesting access, along and list out each video you'd like to be granted access to. And if approved, you will be given access to those videos. Okay. All right, so yeah, that goes to everyone. If you'd like access to the private videos, just send us an email and be sure to list each video you would like access to. And if approved, we'll go ahead and I'll not grant you access to those videos. Here's the New Lord's Prayer. Transmission is given by the Master Jesus.
O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light. So that they who know not may look up, and in doing so receive through their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. grant it energy to sing on forever and forever.
All right, everyone, thank you very much for your kind attendance and for your questions. Again, for those of you who'd like access to the videos are marked private, send us an email, mysticknowledgecenter@gmail.com. It's all one word. And we will listing the videos you want access to, and we will process those for you. We'll see you next time.